When Hun Tiandi ascended as a god, the world collapsed, until another flame answered. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. Hun Tiandi, he has succeeded. The expressions of Yuan and Jukun changed abruptly as they stood atop the Alliance headquarters. Shock surged across their faces as they slowly rose into the air, eyes fixed upon the vast blood cloud churning beyond the defensive barrier. For the very first time from that place, they sensed an aura so terrifying that it made their very souls tremble. That aura belonged exclusively to an elite Dudi, and within that sea of blood, there was only one person who could possibly have reached such a realm. Hun Tiandi. Today, a vast ancient voice steeped in blood descended from the heavens. Is the day I Hun Tiandi ascend to godhood. The voice rolled like thunder, carrying a suffocating bloody stench as it echoed across every corner of the central plains. At that instant, Yuan's and Jukun's expressions turned ashen. Hun Tiandi. The surroundings of the Alliance headquarters erupted into chaos at the utterance of that name, one now synonymous with demonic terror. Countless figures leapt to their feet, faces drained of color as they stared toward the sky in horror. Buzz buzz. A shrill, urgent alarm suddenly tore through the star realm, its sound sharp and penetrating, echoing endlessly through heaven and earth. In that instant, it was as though a single command had been issued to the entire world. From every corner of the realm, figures shot forth like meteors. Powerful auras surged into the sky one after another as Alliance forces rushed out without hesitation. In a matter of breaths, streams of light converged from all directions, intertwining and gathering above the headquarters. Very quickly the sky was filled. What appeared before everyone's eyes was a vast, boundless black sea of warriors suspended in mid-air. Layer upon layer of figures filled the heavens, their presence blotting out the light itself. Countless auras intertwined, roaring like an invisible tide, forming an overwhelming pressure that caused space to subtly distort. Half a year of relentless preparation had not been in vain. This was no longer the disorganized force of the past. Every movement of the Alliance army was precise and orderly. Squads shifted positions seamlessly, formations locked together like gears in a colossal war machine. Their do-chi rose and fell in unison, resonating as one no longer scattered flames, but a single raging inferno. As the immense army finally stabilized, the chaos that had filled the air moments ago slowly receded. Many clenched fists loosened slightly, many trembling hearts found a fragile anchor. Though everyone understood that this sense of security was as brittle as glass, liable to shatter at the slightest touch, it still offered a fleeting comfort in the face of impending annihilation. At that moment, several figures appeared before the assembled army almost simultaneously. Yuan, Jukun, Yanjin, Lei Ying. The pillars of the Alliance stood at the forefront, their expressions solemn beyond words. They lifted their heads together, gazing past the defensive barrier toward the endless layers of blood clouds rolling in the distance. The stench of blood saturating the world had grown markedly thicker. It pressed down upon their chests, seeped into their breaths, and gnawed at their souls like the prelude to a massacre that could no longer be stopped. This aura, Yuan murmured, his brows drawn tightly together. He took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing the turmoil churning in his heart. His voice was low, heavy, and tinged with an undeniable gravity. It truly belongs to Hun Tiandi. With a sharp wave of his hand, his words rang out like a bell tolling before doom. Everyone prepare yourselves. The Alliance army responded instantly. A thunderous roar erupted from tens of thousands of throats, shaking the heavens and earth. Their combined aura surged upward, forming a towering pressure that pushed back even the oppressive blood clouds for a brief moment. If we fail to stop him today, Yanjin said, his voice solemn and resolute, then the entire Do-Chi continent will fall under Hun Tiandi's control. When that happens, he paused, his gaze sweeping over the countless figures behind him. All living beings will perish. Silence followed his words. Yuan and the others nodded quietly. No one tried to deny it. Hun Tiandi now carried the might of a Dodi, a realm that stood above all others. With that power, he alone was enough to contend against the entire Alliance army. One single mistake, one moment of hesitation, and this war, one that had stretched across countless years soaked in blood and hatred, would end in total annihilation. Any news from Xiao Yan? Lei Ying suddenly asked, his voice low but tense. Yuan slowly shook his head. No, the inheritance of the ancient god is no simple matter. It will require time, perhaps more time than we can afford. Lei Ying let out a bitter laugh, the sound carrying a trace of helplessness. But we no longer have the luxury of time. The words hung heavily in the air. Above them, the blood clouds churned silently, like a beast drawing its breath before the final strike. Gu Yuan fell silent for a moment before speaking again, his voice heavy. It is not that I do not wish to inform him, but all of you understand Xiao Yan is our final hope. Only if he successfully advances to Do Di can we oppose Hun Tiandi. Calling him out prematurely would achieve nothing. It would only bury our last chance. Yanjin and the others sighed softly, nodding in agreement. They knew he spoke the truth. The younger generations of our 3 clans have already been evacuated, Gu Yuan continued. At the very least, our bloodlines will endure. Even if we fall today, as long as Xiao Yan succeeds, our legacy will not be extinguished. Therefore, we must not summon him before he succeeds. You're right, Lei Ying said after a brief pause, clenching his teeth. The Lei clan has never feared death. Even if that bastard Hun Tiandi has truly become a Dodi, we will still dare to face him. Gu Yuan smiled faintly. The ripples in his heart gradually stilled. He raised his head, gazing into the roiling blood clouds. Now, it was time to live or die alongside the Alliance. The blood clouds remained motionless as the Alliance army stood in solemn silence. A dense, iron-heavy stench drifted through the sky. Yet this silence brought no peace, only the unmistakable feeling of a storm about to break. After nearly an hour, ripples finally spread through the blood clouds that had blanketed the central plains for over half a year. Slowly before countless eyes, the clouds parted. Fierce winds howled as figures riding black fog poured forth like a flood, spreading in all directions before halting outside the massive defensive barrier. Their gazes were cold and merciless as they stared at the sea of people within. The Hun Clan has finally arrived. Faces paled across the Alliance as they looked upon the army that darkened the heavens. Though they had long anticipated this moment, true despair still clawed at their hearts when it finally came. The Hun Clan army hovered silently like a pack of feral wolves eyeing their prey. Suddenly a path opened within their ranks. From afar, a streak of bloodlight approached, transforming into a massive blood lotus, radiating boundless slaughter intent. It came to a halt before the army. Upon the lotus sat a figure with disheveled, blood-soaked hair. The bloody aura surrounding him was so dense it caused the air itself to condense into droplets. Blood rain fell splattering against the defensive barrier. The sight sent chills through countless hearts. Hun Tiandi, Gu Yuan and the others stared at the figure upon the lotus fists, clenched unconsciously. That aura was far too terrifying. Gu Yuan Hun Tiandi said calmly, scarlet eyes curved in a faint smile, you have already lost. Gu Yuan's gaze darkened. Hun Tiandi, the ancient clans, once agreed that our wars would not involve ordinary people. Your actions today will surely invite retribution. What a joke, Hun Tiandi laughed softly as he rose from the lotus, standing like a sovereign overlooking the world. I have surpassed this world. Who is worthy to judge me? Rules are written by the strong. From today onward, the Dao Qi continent belongs to my Hun clan. Bloodthirst reverberated through his voice, draining the color from countless faces. I am the final victor of this war. A crimson glow surged in his eyes as he extended his hand toward the defensive barrier, protecting countless lives, and clenched his palm. Gu Yuan, since you were once my equal, I will allow you to witness the true power of a Do Di. Blood rain converged, forming an impossibly thin crimson line that flashed across the sky. Space itself split apart. Without even a ripple, the massive defensive barrier constructed by countless experts shattered before stunned eyes. Silence fell. Despair engulfed the crowd as blood rain washed over them, carrying the stench of death. A single casual strike had annihilated their final defense. Gu Yuan and the others stared grimly at the ruined barrier. Hun Tiandi's strength sent shivers through their souls. In formation, Gu Yuan roared, rising into the air. Even knowing defeat was inevitable, he would fight to the very end. The Alliance army roared in response. Their combined Do Qi surged skyward, dispersing portions of the blood cloud itself. Gudi mirror, boundless Do Qi gathered as Gu Yuan formed seals. An ancient energy mirror, tens of thousands of feet tall, manifested. Terrifying, annihilating ripples erupted from within. This was their strongest strike, gathered from countless experts, unleashed without reservation. Grug, Gu Yuan spat a mouthful of essence blood into the mirror. Brilliant light erupted. A colossal pillar of light shot forth, obliterating space itself as it tore through the heavens, visible across the entire central plains. Hope flared. Even Hun Tiandi. Could he truly stop this? Hun Tiandi merely smiled. He extended a single finger and pressed gently. Shatter. The light halted mere feet from him. No explosion. No resistance. Under stunned gazes, the pillar collapsed inch by inch, dissolving into scattered light. Yuan Hun Tiandi said softly, "I will be the one who stands victorious." Blood rain poured down from the heavens in all directions. In that instant, it was as though the entire world had been dyed a deep, suffocating crimson. So, this is the power of an elite Du-Di. Even Gu Yuan's heart was flooded with an indescribable sense of helplessness as he watched Hun Tiandi casually shatter such a terrifying attack. No wonder the Du-Di realm was so difficult to attain. The gap between them was not merely one of strength, it was the difference between two entirely separate worlds. You actually dared to dream of becoming the savior of the world with strength like this. Hun Tiandi's scarlet eyes locked onto Gu Yuan, faint mockery laced through his calm voice. He waved his hand casually. A streak of bloodlight burst forth, and before anyone could react, the mountain below, along with the countless experts upon it, was instantly erased. Not a single soul managed to escape or resist. The expressions of everyone present changed once again. This so-called alliance army is utterly insignificant before me, Hun Tiandi said indifferently, his gaze still fixed on Gu Yuan. Back then I gave you an opportunity. Unfortunately, you failed to seize it. Let everything end here. Hun Tiandi leisurely swept his eyes across the faces filled with terror and despair. A hint of boredom crept into his expression. Troubles that once demanded caution had now lost all meaning. An elite Dao-Di was the god of this world, everyone else were nothing more than ants beneath his feet. He gently pressed a finger downward. The world trembled. Endless bloody chi surged and gathered at his fingertip, condensing into a streak of bloodlight that shot straight toward Gu Yuan. Gu Yuan's heart jolted. The Dao Qi within his body roared forth as he instinctively tried to draw upon the natural energy of the world to defend himself. Hun Tiandi smiled faintly. Halt. With that single word, Gu Yuan was horrified to discover that his connection to the world's natural energy had been severed. Shock flashed across his face. The true strength of an elite Dao Sheng lay not merely in vast Dao Qi, but in their ability to command natural energy freely. Yet with nothing more than a soft command, Hun Tiandi had stripped him of that authority, equivalent to severing one of his arms. Gudi shattering black finger. Gu Yuan reacted instantly. Though startled, his battle experience was immense. Realizing he could no longer manipulate natural energy, he pushed the Dao Qi within his body to its absolute limit. A low roar erupted from his throat as monstrous Dao Qi condensed into a colossal finger etched with ancient, mysterious runes slamming mercilessly toward the incoming bloodlight. Bang! The two collided mid-air. Grug! The seemingly solid Dao Qi defense shattered with terrifying ease. In the next instant, the bloodlight slammed squarely into Gu Yuan's body. A mouthful of crimson blood sprayed forth as his figure staggered backward. Jukun rushed in just in time, catching him and stabilizing his body. A Dao-Di rules this world, Hun Tiandi chuckled softly. You are far too naive to think you can command natural energy in front of me. He lifted his hand again, pointing toward the dense blood clouds above. With a gentle clench of his fingers, the clouds churned violently. A deafening thunderclap rang out as an enormous bolt of blood-colored lightning descended, ripping through space as it smashed toward the Alliance army. Form ranks and counterattack. Gu Yuan shouted hoarsely, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth. If that lightning struck unopposed, the Alliance army would suffer catastrophic losses. The Alliance army reacted instantly. Vast Dao Qi surged together, forming a colossal Dao Qi dragon that charged forward and collided head-on with the descending blood lightning. Bang! Bang! Blinding light flooded the sky, illuminating the entire central plains. Yet the stalemate lasted only a brief moment before the demonic blood lightning forcibly tore the Dao Qi dragon apart. Grug! Countless experts turned pale as the dragon dissipated. They spat blood in unison, clearly injured by the violent backlash. One man, standing alone, suppressing an entire alliance. Such was the terror of an elite Dao-Di. No matter how vast the numbers, they were meaningless before absolute power. Gu Yuan and Jukun exchanged a glance, each seeing shock mirrored in the other's eyes. Though they had long known a Dodi would be terrifying, the reality still crushed them. Even after gathering so many experts, they could not even stall Hun Tiandi. Daodi is far too terrifying, Yan Jin said bitterly. Against such strength, they had no chance of victory. No matter what, Gu Yuan growled, clenching his teeth, as long as we can delay until Xiao Yan arrives, there is still hope. Yan Jin and the others could only laugh bitterly. It wasn't that they didn't want to delay, it was simply that before Hun Tiandi's overwhelming power, all resistance felt futile. We only need to hold on a little longer. Yan suddenly spoke, excitement flashing in her eyes. The dragon seal I left in Xiao Yan's body is growing increasingly faint. That pressure, it's not something an ordinary elite Do Sheng could produce. Gu Yuan and the others trembled as they heard this. The gloom in their eyes was instantly replaced by uncontrollable joy. This was the best news they had received in a very long time. Then we must stop him today, no matter the cost. Jukun said coldly, lifting his head to stare at Hun Tiandi atop the blood lotus. A fierce glint flashed in his eyes. Gu Yuan reorganized the army. I'll face him. Without waiting for a reply, Jukun shot into the sky. His body twisted violently, transforming into a colossal, ancient void dragon whose size left all speechless. Its vast dragon might barely manage to disperse some of the suffocating blood stench. Ancient void dragon. Hun Tiandi looked on with interest. Now that I've advanced to Dodi, I happen to be lacking a mount. Submit to me, and I can guarantee the survival of your clan. What do you say? Jukun answered with action alone. Bung, purple gold light erupted from his open maw, carrying destructive force as it blasted toward Hun Tiandi. Stubborn. Hun Tiandi shook his head lightly and flicked his sleeve. The devastating attack instantly shattered into scattered light. In the next breath, Hun Tiandi vanished, reappearing ghost-like atop the dragon's massive body. He stomped down gently, yet countless purple gold scales exploded apart. Dragon blood cascaded down like a waterfall. Roar. Jukun howled in agony, his massive body thrashing so violently that space itself shattered. Boom. Hun Tiandi's eyes remained indifferent as he stomped again. The enormous dragon body was driven from the sky, crashing into the mountain range below and carving out a deep sunken chasm. Despair crept into the eyes of the Alliance experts. Even Jukun had been defeated so easily. How boring. Hun Tiandi returned to the blood lotus, glancing at the sea of terrified faces below before shaking his head slowly. Let it all end. I dislike the name Central Plains. This land shall be erased. He raised his hand and pointed toward the blood clouds spanning the heavens. A ferocious smile crept onto his lips as he swung his palm down. Bang! The blood clouds churned violently. Terrifying energy gathered in an instant as countless blood-red lightning bolts crackled into existence. Bang! 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 The lightning rained down from all directions, shaking the entire Central Plains. The earth split apart. Everything struck above or below ground was annihilated. With the defensive barrier gone, millions upon millions of people were blown apart as blood rain descended. The land around the Alliance was instantly submerged in viscous blood. Countless figures fled madly toward the headquarters, the scene resembling the end of the world. Bastard! Gu Yuan's eyes nearly split open. Experts struck by the blood lightning were obliterated body and soul, reduced to bloody mist. Ha 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 ha! Hun Tiandi laughed wildly, scarlet light blazing in his eyes as he stood amid blood and lightning like a demon god descended from hell. All forces retreat and defend. Gu Yuan roared hoarsely. The Alliance army had already suffered catastrophic losses. All they could do now was shrink their defensive line and endure. Yan and the others stared at the sea of blood before them, despair biting deep. Even they felt powerless. Kailin clutched Xiao tightly, shielding her eyes. "Mummy, will Daddy come?" Xiao whispered, trembling. "He will," Kailin said softly, though her voice shook. "Daddy will come." He promised to protect Xiao. Before Kailin's gentle words had fully faded into the air, an abrupt and terrifying change occurred. A vast ancient energy suddenly erupted from within Xiao's small body. In that instant, the space around her trembled violently. An invisible pressure swept outward like a tidal wave, instantly overwhelming Kailin's own aura. Her expression changed drastically as she felt her breath tighten. This power had already far surpassed her in a single heartbeat. Boom! Boom! Deep, thunderous explosions echoed from within the crowd. Xiao Yan, Xiao Ding, Xiao Li, and the others stiffened as their bodies suddenly surged with power. Their physiques visibly grew taller, their bones cracking softly as if reforged. Monstrous Dao Qi burst from them uncontrollably, their auras climbing at a terrifying speed, as though some ancient seal buried deep within their blood had been forcibly shattered. Golden red light flickered faintly beneath their skin, pulsing like a living flame. It's the bloodline. Gu Yuan's pupils shrank violently. Then uncontrollable ecstasy erupted across his face as he cried out in disbelief. The Dao Di bloodline, it has awakened. His aged body trembled not from fear, but from overwhelming joy. At this moment, it was as if the heavens themselves had finally answered their desperate prayers. Almost simultaneously, Gu Yuan abruptly lifted his head. His gaze shot toward the distant sky. Their endless, brilliant flames suddenly bloomed within the void. They spread at an astonishing speed, sweeping across the heavens like a burning sea. In just a few breaths, those flames intertwined and condensed, forming an incomparably vast fire barrier that enveloped a 5,000-kilometer radius around the Sky Mansion Alliance. The barrier burned with unmatched majesty, its flames neither frantic nor violent, but calm, ancient, and absolute, like the will of a god descending upon the mortal world. Bang, bang, blood-red lightning smashed down from the sky with destructive fury. Yet the moment it touched the fire barrier, it was instantly incinerated, reduced to nothingness, erased without even a trace. The flames roared. They rolled and converged at the center of the barrier, swirling violently before condensing into a single point of light. From within that blazing radiance, a human figure slowly emerged. He stood there wrapped in brilliant flames as if forged from fire itself. The surrounding space bowed and distorted, unable to withstand his presence. His aura spread outward, vast, deep, and unfathomable, pressing down upon heaven and earth like an invisible sun. Gu Yuan, Jukun, Yanjin, and the others stared at that figure. In that instant, exhaustion crashed over them like a flood. Fear, despair, and bitterness that had been suppressed for so long finally loosened their grip. It felt as though they had survived a calamity, dragged back from the brink of annihilation. "Xiao Gan," Gu Yuan whispered softly, his voice hoarse. Relief and hope intertwined within his eyes, so intense it nearly brought tears. "We've already reached our limit." He straightened his back slightly as if finally able to rest. "The rest will have to depend on you." Above the blood-soaked central plains, amid flames that burned away despair itself, the final battle had truly begun. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.